Howdy, guys. Welcome to Cliff Notes Live Interactive. A good Monday evening to y'all. Let me start off the show as I always do. SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, and I love all the fellow Big Brother fans. Man, I got to say, it's kind of cool going on right after the Big Brother episode itself. So we got a little bit to talk about that show and the whole last week and everything that's been going on. So hope y'all are doing fantastic. Now, before we start, we're obviously broadcasting on TVCO as we always do. But as some of you may be familiar from last week, we also are now streaming on YouTube. So all of y'all who are out there watching on YouTube, welcome aboard. Glad to have y'all. I can see my comments. Hey, Life After Netherland, thank you so much for the animation. Howdy, Karen, howdy, Sean. I can see the comments from the TVCO app, but we're also trying to review and watch the comments from YouTube as well. So I really plan being Big Brother season, just going all night long. Well, not all night, for the next hour, talking all Big Brother. So any questions y'all have, fire away, and I promise I'm going to try to keep up with them as we go throughout the evening. So welcome, whether you're watching on TVCO or on YouTube, either one. So we just finished up the episode, but I'm going to give it just a few minutes just so people can finish up with the show in case they're a little behind and all that, and come on board here. So while we're waiting to talk with Big Brother, I'll just talk real quickly a couple of things. What have I been up to? Well, I got to say, Big Brother's always going to be the top spot in my heart. Just because, I mean, I was on the show and all, but after waiting for more than a year, we finally had our first episode of The Amazing Race last week. I don't know how many of y'all are fans of The Amazing Race, but I absolutely love the show. Having traveled all over the world myself, it's always a lot of fun to see where they go. They went to Trinidad last week. I've been to Trinidad. I love the country. It's so much fun. We'll talk about that some other day, maybe after we get through with the Big Brother season itself. But I've got Amazing Race that I watched. And sorry, guys, I'm looking at animations as we go through here. Hey, guys, all of y'all. Britpal, thought you couldn't listen to music. Not a whole lot of music. You can if you're HOH. And every morning they wake us up with 3 songs when we're first waking up, changing out batteries, things like that. The only time we get the music while we're in the house. But anyway, yeah, I love Amazing Race. I am glad it's back as well, JP. Absolutely. I mentioned they went to Trinidad, and I think I've told a few stories in past Cliff Notes episodes. I'll tell some more later. But it's a fun, cool country. But after watching that first episode, I've decided I'm going to try it for Amazing Race. And I think I'm going to grab either Nicole Anthony or Kat. One or the other would be a lot of fun to do that competition with. A little bit different. Young, athletic versus older, and a little less athletic, but I've got a little traveling experience that they don't have. So I think it'd be an interesting little combination of the two. So I've got to talk to one or the other, both of them, and get our applications in and see if we can't just travel the world and have all kinds of fun. So watching The Amazing Race, for any of y'all who aren't watching, I heartily encourage you to do so. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into Big Brother a little bit. And I'm promising I'm going to try to keep up with these comments. Mason Boland, I want Nicole to win. Well, you got a 1 in 4 chance at this point in time, don't you? Let's see. Can I drive a manual? JP is asking. All right, JP. Not only can I drive a manual transmission, but I was actually in Scotland once and rented a car to drive around, see the castles. They do your typical touristy stuff. They gave me the car. It was a manual transmission, and you drive on the left-hand side of the road over there, which actually meant that the transmission was you had to shift with your left hand because you're sitting on the right side of the car. So yeah, that was quite the excitement, and I did pretty well, except for one time when I was supposed to be on the left-hand side of the road. I just got through seeing the Queen and the Queen Mother, and as I pull out, their version of Secret Service waves at me, starts yelling at me. I say, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was going on. And they say, oh, you're American. Okay, you're forgiven. Drive on the left-hand side of the road from now on. So, yeah, I can drive a manual transmission, JP, and I'd love to do it. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Big Brother tonight. And just a whole past week. That HOH competition, Cody won yet again. I tell you what, guys, from the very first HOH on night 1, where he jumped across those little lily pads, buttons, whatever they were, until this very last HOH competition. He has won every single, no, not every single. He has dominated the competitions. He is definitely this year's version of the comp beast. And so I don't know. What can you say? I don't know if it's going to get any differently when we get to the final 3 competitions that are going to be going on. I think he's got a leg up on those as well, competing against whoever the other 2 that he's competing against. So props to Cody for winning yet again, guaranteeing himself the I'm getting ahead of myself. Enzo won the HOH competition. Cody, we've got the veto coming up. We'll just say that. That night move competition, I really like it. What do y'all think about that? I didn't start watching until season 8, so I missed it when Kazar played that originally in season 6 of Big Brother. But I really enjoyed that competition, a little intellectual, mental exercise. I wish they'd had that last season for me when we were competing in the Final Four. Our Final Four competition was hanging onto the ropes, spinning around, getting thrown into the 18-wheeler. I just wasn't really suited for that competition as well as Nicole and Holly were. This one, I feel like I would have maybe been okay with with moving the chess pieces around and everything else. Now, we saw in the episode, Cody and Nicole both were kind of upset with Enzo for not competing, not trying to go after and everything else. I don't blame Enzo one bit. He had a decent excuse for Cody of just saying, "Hey, you were going first, and if I got in your way, it could have messed both of us up. As long as you were going after her, all that matters is that one of us wins this thing." And of course, obviously, Cody wasn't buying it, but I still enjoyed the competition. I had a blast. The only thing I don't like about that night moves competition is it's a type of comp that really you can have 2 people ganging up against a third person. Just as Cody was wanting to do, where both of them were going to go after Christmas. I kind of don't like that in a Final Four because Christmas had a disadvantage before she even started that particular competition with 2 of them going against her potentially. I like the competitions where every person has an absolute equal footing in the beginning, and we didn't have that one. But that being said, I still like the competition. Mama Hog, you would have won that competition with ease. Well, thank you. I'd like to think I'd have a decent chance at winning it. It seems like in years past they had a lot more of the mental competitions towards the end, and that came down last season. Nicole and I deciding, even between Holly and Tommy, a lot of that decision making was based on the idea that we were going to have more of these mental comps at the end versus the more physical things, the endurance, hanging on, things like that. So they got it this year. We didn't get last season. And that's a shame because I would certainly love to flip it around, but that's okay. So yeah, that was a neat competition just because it was an old iconic one. It's a little tough though. Do y'all realize that this season we are not going to get slip and slide? We're not going to get hide and go veto, either one. Such an iconic comps that I would have loved to see, but I get it. And they just didn't have room for all of them, especially with a shortened season and all of that. All right. So let's see some questions. I'm trying to monitor the questions online and the ones people had sent previously. Britt Powell saying, you guys had a lot of physical. I feel like it's up. I had so many injuries in there. Some of them y'all saw, some of them that you didn't even see, aches and pulls and tears and things like that. But yeah, we had a lot of really physical competitions. No wonder Mickey was able to win so many as well. And you look at Cody's wins this year, between his HOH and his competition victories, and all of them to some degree have had a component of physicality built into them, which it just gives him a leg up being the athlete that he is. But they have, I've got to say, they've had fun this year with some of these competitions that have been a little bit different. The chess competition, do y'all remember the one that Davon won the veto with the little mini beer cans that you had to stack up? Something we've never seen before, and it was just so cool. It's one of those that you think it would be so easy, and yet just the tiniest little movement screw up, and you knock it all over and everything. So I have enjoyed a lot of the competitions this year. All right, so some questions as we go through this. 13 Mantha had asked me, said, if you were in a jury, who would you vote for? And we've got 4 people right now. that potentially could be on the block. Now, we know that Christmas and Nicole are on the block right now. I fully expect that Christmas is probably going to go home on Thursday. So let's just consider the final three. And if I was in a jury, who would I vote for of those three? I've got to say that Cody has been playing this game so well. I know last season when I was voting, trying to decide between Mickey and Holly, it really came down to me looking at three different factors, and that was competition wins, your social game, and your jury management. And last season, I felt like Mickey had achieved the social game, and the competition side had probably not won the jury management side, but he won 2 out of the 3, and that's why I voted for him. If I did something similar this season with Cody against either Enzo or Nicole, either one, I absolutely feel that he would have won the competition side of that little triad. Social game, I don't think he's done anything destructive on a social game. You get a little blood on your hands just because he's been HOH so many times and such, but I feel like he's played a decent social game. Enzo may have a little bit of an edge on him on the social game, but certainly it's pretty close. And then jury management, I don't think Cody has sent anyone out the door that's been too upset with him. I know Danny was a little perturbed with him, but I feel like he's done a decent job with the jury management and being friendly to the people as well. So if I was on jury 13-man, I think I'd have to hand it to Cody at this point in time, unless something really weird happens in this final 3 competition. If Enzo or Nicole was to win it and drag him along, even at that, I'd still be tempted to go with Cody. But that's my thinking. I'm welcome to hear other arguments on the other one. Crosstrack 6 saying, who would you put on the block tonight? And that's with Enzo on the block. That's tough. I tell you what, as great a social game as Enzo has been playing, part of it, there's a part of me that says you put Cody on the block, that you need to send Cody home because he is such a big threat to win it all. And they've got to realize that by now, right? They can't not recognize that he's above everyone else when it comes time to winning this game. The problem is if you're in Enzo's position, he won HOH, which guarantees him final 3. And that's important. From Enzo's standpoint, that's important. And that's why he played this night moves tonight and played to win instead of just working with Cody and taking a chance that he wouldn't win. But you don't get to decide who actually goes home. You can put whoever you want on the block, but it really comes down to the POV that makes that final decision. So I think I probably would have done just like Enzo and put Christmas and Nicole on the block. Both of them, I think, were somewhat expecting it. Christmas acted a little surprised, but she can't be that upset, and she's probably going home anyway. If he put Cody on the block, he could have used the excuse of, hey, yo, I'm just trying to, you haven't been on the block. It's just my way of making sure I'm the only person on the block that never went on the block during the season. And Cody would have been a little perturbed, but he probably would have understood that. But Enzo had to be real careful because the last thing he wants to do is alienate Cody right before we get to the final 3. Suddenly, Cody maybe wins the final 3. It has to drag along either Nicole or Enzo. If Enzo's done anything to make Cody upset, that gives Cody an excuse. And that's all he needs is an excuse to take Nicole along instead of Enzo and say, hey, you put me on the block when you didn't need to, Enzo. So just the littlest things like that can make a difference. So I think because of that, I probably, if I was Enzo, would have done exactly like what he said. Britt Powell, I love your yo, because that's so him. All right, that's about the only bit of Jersey impersonation that I can possibly do is yo, and I have to stop right there. But thank you very much for that. Hey, Mason Bowen, thank you very much for the tip. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate it. Sandelica saying Nicole doesn't need to win. She already won before. And we had since the very beginning of the season, Ian and Nicole both sitting there saying, hey, look, in fact, Nicole was saying, let's really push the fact that no one's ever going to vote for us in the final 2 because we've already won before. And therefore, why should you bother evicting either one of us? And Ian had a point way back in the beginning. He said, yeah, but if you say that too much and too often, people are going to start believing that themselves. And if we do make it to the final 2, suddenly they're not going to vote for us because of what we already got through saying to them. So, you're right. There's you would think that there's going to be people who are going to say that you've already won, so why would I vote to give you another $500,000 as compared to whoever else is up there? But realize, too, Nicole's going to use that as part of her argument. She's going to say when she gets up there that I had the biggest target on my back of anyone in the house because I already won, and yet here I am still. So obviously I played a fantastic game as a result. She talked earlier, talking about Cody, and she said that she's going to say during her jury speech, a little presumptuous to think you're going to be there, but she may not be wrong. But she said she's going to say during her jury speech that the best decision she made throughout the entire game was choosing to work with Cody. And so we see part of her argument right there, that she's going to basically tell everyone that, yeah, y'all are saying and Cody's saying that he drugged me along. But the reality is I chose to work with Cody. I chose to make him my partner because I knew he was strong, and I knew that I could use him to advance my own game. So she's going to try to twist that and turn it to her advantage, which is what she should do. Who would you see? Who would you saw that? Mason Bolin saying, what was it like to be in the Big Brother house? My future dream is to play Big Brother. I don't even want the 500,000. I just want to play. I was kind of the same way, Mason. Now, if they give me one of those big old checks with $500,000 on it at the end, I sure wasn't going to turn it down. No, sirree, not at all. But if they had said, hey, Cliff, you're playing for $5,000 instead of $500,000, I still would have said, yeah, bring me on. I want to play the game. It's the love of the game, which was the biggest driver for me doing it. What's it like? Well, here's the thing, Mason. Picture we watch football on TV on Saturdays or Sundays, the pros, and you see the guy, and he's a superstar, and he makes the big plays, and just people are swarming him. You dream of being that the guy who gets to be the superstar and everything else, and think how cool would that be to actually be a football player or a baseball player, whatever your sport is. That was me on Big Brother, watching the show, and every night after an episode thinking, oh, what would I have done differently? How would I have played the game? And all of a sudden, after you think about it for so many years, I walk into that Big Brother house and I'm actually there. And I realize that I am actually playing the game myself. And that's what it feels like, Mason, that you watch football or basketball every Sunday, every day. And next thing you know, you're actually on center court. You're on the 50-yard line getting ready to play your game yourself. And that's what I felt when I started that game. It was the most amazing, awesome experience in the world. Very surreal. Even now, when I watch these shows, the episodes on TV and everything, I still catch myself all the time saying, I can't believe I was in that house. I can't believe I sat there and I was in that bathroom. I was up in that HOH room. I used that refrigerator. Little things. It still is very surreal, but very cool. All right, some other questions. Mama C, he's too afraid to get blood on his hands. He isn't strong enough to play to win in the end. Great social game, not strong enough for the big win. I think you're right. I think he truly is probably played into a third place position. Cross track, Mama C, thank you both of y'all for the animations. I so appreciate it. I love some of these animations. These animations are so cool. Thank you so much. No, but I agree. I think Enzo is just not, for as much as he talked about making big moves all season long, every time someone else was there, he said, when I'm up there, I'm making my big moves. Didn't quite happen. There's a lot of people that played out of fear a little bit this season, and it's just, I don't know, is it fear? Is it respect for the quality of some of these other house guests that are playing? It may be a combination of both, but yeah, he never did really. Thank you for that animation. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so far behind. Chickadee, thank you so much for the animation. Is there any way Nicole Franzel could win over Cody? I don't know. I'm going to talk about that. I pulled up some scenarios here in just a second. Check out The Right Stuff on Disney Plus, JP says. I've heard about it. I haven't watched it yet. Anything NASA related and everything, I'm ready for it. I do think Cody is a presumed winner. Yeah, Chickadee, you were with the same old ants too in the kitchen. Our ants weren't nearly as bad as they had this season. We shut them down. As soon as they started coming in, we trapped them and shut them down right there by the back door. And we never had them nearly as bad as past seasons. I'd like to think it's because we did a little bit better job of keeping everything clean. Sandelica, thank you for the animation. I appreciate it so much. And I see you said, I remember when you got HOH. So do I. One of the most glorious moments of my entire season at HOH, day 30, got booted, fought my way back in, and then suddenly won the HOH. Now, here's the thing y'all may not realize. That particular HOH, for whatever reason, it took place a lot later in the evening. Sometimes we do HOHs as soon as the live show is over. That one, maybe it's because we did the battle back, so they had to clear off the stuff from the backyard and then move in the things in for the HOH competition. But we didn't start that till, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It just seems very late. By the time we got done, it was probably midnight. And so that was such a long day for me. And yet then I won the HOH. It meant I didn't get my HOH room until 2 o'clock or so in the morning. It was very late. And then we had nominations at 10:30 or so the next morning. So I only had about 8 or 9 hours to make my decision about who I was going to put up. And people were just coming to my room the whole time, pitching to me what they wanted me to do. And, of course, everyone had their ideas. You become very popular when you win HOH in that house. Suddenly, everyone wants to be your best friend. Angie, thank you for the innovation. I appreciate it so much. Let's see. Britt Powell, who do you think you would have been drawn to work with besides Nicole, or do you think it would be Nicole, Kaiser, and Janelle? The other one I'll throw out is Ian. I really would have wanted to work with Ian, in addition to Kaiser and Janelle, and obviously Nicole and David. Pick the underdogs. Pick outside the committee alliance, and those are the people I would have wanted to work with, and I think we could have made something happen. Any game move regrets? Top Gun fan, I'm asking. Not regrets. I mean, I feel like I took my best shot on everything I did. You always have hindsight. You say, gosh, if I'd sent Mickey out instead of Christy when we had the double eviction, what would have happened? If we'd sent Tommy out, or Holly out instead of Tommy, what could have happened? Obviously, I've worked through every scenario in my mind dozens and dozens of times. And after doing all of that and hearing what other people were saying and all, but also knowing the limited information that I was working off of, I'm comfortable with every decision I made. You've got to take your chances. Even the things like sending Tommy home instead of Holly, it was all based on what gave us the best chance to make it to the final two, Nicole and I. Not necessarily what could have advanced me to third instead of fourth place, but what would have given me the best chance to make it all the way to the end. If you're not planning to get all the way to the end, you shouldn't even be there in the first place. That was my viewpoint when I was in there. All right, let's see. Behas, thank you. Thank you for the animation. I appreciate it so much. Britt Powell, who went home on your HOH? Bella went home on my HOH. I put up Jack and Mickey, and I really wanted to send Jack out the door. Once Mickey won the veto, I was debating who I was going to put up alongside Jack. I kind of was leaning towards Tommy. Because I didn't think people would send Tommy out the door. It would force them to send Jack home instead. I had it all planned out until I learned that Christy had the diamond power veto, and she could take over and name the replacement nominee instead of myself. So I had to work a deal with her, and I didn't have a whole lot of trust or faith in Bella to begin with, just because I knew she would send me out the door in a heartbeat if she thought it'd benefit her game. So I agreed to nominate Bella in exchange for buying a few weeks of safety, which I knew I needed. And it worked out. It worked out fine in the end. But, yeah, I wanted to send Jack out. That was really my primary target. But we sent Bella home instead. And it was all because of Christy's diamond power veto. Top Gun fam, Christy messed you up. Yeah, but I got a lot of respect for Christy. She's passionate about the game. She's a huge fan and all. But, yeah, her overhearing me certainly didn't help. Her putting me on the block in week 1 certainly didn't help. Her having the diamond power veto messed up my game. So, yeah, as I think about it, Christy she was always a little kink in the plans from start to finish. But I got the payback. I won the veto in the double eviction and used it or didn't use it. So I forced Christy to stay on the block. And as a result, then we sent Christy home. Y'all don't know how much I thought about pulling Christy off the block because everyone else wanted her gone completely. I knew she was target number 1. And I really had thought if I pull Christy off the block, I can make her a little bit of an ally, even after everything we've been through, and then either send home Tommy or Mickey, either one, and could have really disrupted the whole game quite a bit. But I didn't feel like it gave me as much of a secure position at that time. And so I ended up not doing it. Plus, it would have kind of thrown Nicole Anthony under the bus. If she put up Christy and Tommy and then suddenly I had pulled one of them off and Mickey went up and suddenly I send Mickey home, for example. Now you've got Christy and Tommy both a little upset with Nicole as well. So, there are a lot of different considerations that went into it. But I thought about it. But now, Christy, yeah, she did a lot to my game throughout from start to finish. But at the end of the day, my vote sent her home as well. So I figure we're kind of equal based on that. All right. Davon Rogers should have made it to the final three. Mason Sam, I really thought she was playing a good game. She and Bailey, I felt like they were playing a fantastic game. It just got a little away from them. Maybe it's just because they couldn't get enough power away from the committee, and before you know it, the committee had turned on them, and it was unfortunate because I thought they were doing a good job of kind of being with that side, but not so tight that they didn't still have connections on the other side as well. I'll say this. If Davon had managed to stay until final three or final two, she would have gotten a lot of votes from that jury house. She would have had a lot of respect from a whole lot of different sides of that house and done fantastic. It just didn't happen this year. Mama Day for AFP, Top Gun Phantom said, I've heard a lot of people saying that. I got to say, either the names I've heard, Davon, Tyler, and Enzo are three names that I keep hearing thrown out there. A little bit for Bailey as well, but it seems like a little bit more for Davon than Bailey. And I think any one of the three, Tyler's going to be hurt by his potentially wanting to self-evict at one point. That I think that's kind of some strikes against him for America's favorite player. But hey, just because he did it doesn't mean that you can't still enjoy him as a player. So any of them. When does AFP voting begin? Top Gun Phantom asked. I don't know. I was in the house last season, so I didn't even keep track of when it started. I assume probably next week, and they give you like a week to do it. But we don't even know for certain if they're going to have America's favorite player. I would expect so. They've done it every season, haven't they? So just because it's all stars, you would think they'd still have it, unless production has already come out and said, yeah, we paid these guys so much money just to start with. We're not giving them anything extra because they gave us too boring of a season. So y'all are just good with what you got, guys. I don't expect that. I expect we'll see it sometime next week. I'm excited. I've never, in my years past, I've never really voted for AFP. I've always enjoyed the strategy, not done as much about individual players. But I think this season I'm gonna be casting some votes. I may spread them out amongst my favorites. Okay. Yeah. All right, I've got a question. Victoria Vasquez from YouTube had asked about, mentioned the fact that this episode tonight was particularly funny, and that some episodes seems like they're really good, they're really funny. Others not so much. Why is there so much difference between them? I don't know. I will say this. There are a lot of different editors and story people that do these shows. I don't know how many there are because that's all behind the walls and the mirrors that we don't get to see. But I do know different people work on different episodes. So it may be just the peculiarities of one editor versus the other. But the other part of it is earlier in the season when you've got so many people playing and so many different strategies and backstabbing and all the things that happen that we as viewers want to see. I would think editors probably spend a lot more time trying to focus on that, and they have to make sure that we as the viewers understand as much of these storylines as possible, because you don't ever know when someone's talking about alliance where that may come into play later on in the season. And so you don't want to ignore it and then find out that, oh, well, now we should have shown it on the episode and it's too late. So I think in the early part of the seasons, they really have to focus a lot more on the strategy part of the game. But by the time we get to the end of it, we kind of know what the strategy is, right? There's not anything huge that's going on in terms of alliances or conspiracies. There's not as much game talk between the players. So it gives them a little bit more time to just look at the humor and the entertainment factors. You know, Enzo with Mulan the cow and all that. If it was early in the season, we wouldn't get to see nearly as much of it. I know last season, and part of it too, is you get so bored in that house. I had a question in here about how do you handle the final four boredom at the end? And it truly is, you don't have nearly as many people to talk to. There isn't nearly as much strategy talk going on. So you just find yourselves without a whole lot to do. And so for some people, Enzo is a perfect example, and I think I am as well. You start trying to do just silly things just to keep yourself occupied. He had Mulan the cow. I had Orwell. At one point, I couldn't find Orwell anywhere. I thought someone maybe had taken it out of spite because they got evicted or whatever. And so I was looking everywhere for Orwell, and I turned it into a kind of a game, going around a mystery and just assuming that someone had kidnapped Orwell, and had fun with it. So when the house guests don't have as much strategy talk to have going on, and they start doing other things, it gives the editors, I suppose, a lot more room, and their storylines, their space gives them a lot more time to focus on the humor and the fun side of the game instead of strictly the strategy. So that may be why this episode was a little more on the humor side, because we didn't have near as much strategy going on as we have in the past. Sandelka, priority run. You got to run. Be back next week. Thank you for joining in. Who deserved to be in a finale but failed to make it? Top Gun Phantom is asking. Tyler, maybe. Tyler played an interesting game. He was kind of a lone wolf at times. I thought, and I know some people are upset with Memphis for things outside gameplay, and I thought he was a little abrasive sometimes in the way he treated people. But from a strategy standpoint, I felt like he had a good foundation. He came over, even though he's old school, he came over into the new school side and tried to form the committee, and he had a lot of connections. His problem was he had this big group that he's working with, but I don't feel like he really had a tight connection that he could depend on at the end. Christmas was the closest, but she just didn't win when she needed to, and so it didn't work out for him. But I could have seen Memphis maybe in the finale. I don't know that he would have won it, but I could have seen him in it. Angie saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Enzo won AFP. Me neither, not at all. And I will be happy to see him win it. All the ones I mentioned, Davon as well. Be happy to see her win it also. Mason Boland, who remembers Tamar Braxton won and she wouldn't go in the clown? She was so scared in that haunted house. Yeah, I think she just defaulted and didn't even try. I just remember at the very end, I think she got in the car and there was someone in the back seat. She got even scared at that point. The only person who's been more scared of falling than Jessica Milagros from last season is probably Tamar. She did not like heights or falling from anything at all. So yeah, she was fun to watch on that Celebrity Big Brother. On the night of the finale, after Mickey had been awarded the $500,000, we're all standing there up on stage before the show cuts away. And that's the first question I had for Julie Chen. I said, hey, are we having Celebrity Big Brother this winter? Because, we'd been cut off for 3.5 months. I didn't know. And she said, no, I think we're going to do it next winter instead. Olympics, and we're going to go against the Olympics and all that. And so we didn't have it last winter. And then because of COVID and all, it's just not happening. I assume it's not happening. Maybe they'll surprise us. But, I enjoy Celebrity Big Brother almost as much as I like just a regular old Big Brother. The players evicted before jury may be forgotten by FP. Angie saying, yeah, I think it's really hard if you've been out of the game for too long to get that America's favorite player vote. It's just, look at our season last year. You had Tommy who came in 5th. Myself who came in 4th, and Nicole who came in 3rd, and we were the 3 finalists for America's favorite player. I imagine if we go back, you'll find 1 or 2 instances where someone earlier got AFP. I don't know if we've ever had someone that was pre-jury that got AFP. That you just don't play the game enough to get people invested in you and your game necessarily. David Buchanan, I think Kevin's last name is Campbell. Bandanimal, according to his BB comic as well. Mason saying it'd be funny and cool if Julie played. I'm real curious to see how Julie would do in this game. She'd have a huge target on her back. Maybe she's got enough knowledge of past seasons and all, but it's one thing watching the game and analyzing. It's another thing to actually being there and having to do the competitions and all. But yeah, it'd be fun. I'd team up with her. I'd be aligning with her right in a heartbeat and saying, hey, you got my back. I got yours, Julie. Absolutely. How far would she get? I don't know. But it'd be fun watching her. I'd love to see her up on the slip and slide or doing OTEV in some of these and let her get a feel for it from the other side of the camera. Top Gun Phantom, what did you wish made air but never did? And what do I wish happened that didn't do? I don't know. Because I haven't seen enough of the episodes to actually know for certain. I need to watch the rest of my season. And Britt Powell saying, did watching your season make you think different about anyone? Was it fun to rewatch? No, I pretty much knew everyone. There were people who were talking about me behind my back and all that and strategies. Well, that's okay. That's part of the game. I went in saying I'm not going to hold anything against anyone one way or the other. It's just a game. So, there's nothing I've heard that makes me feel, if nothing else, it's a little bit more respect. I know I've seen some parts where Mickey and Holly were talking, saying we cannot let Cliff get to the final 2 on the jury. It'd be too dangerous for him to do that. So I didn't realize they were so vocally opposed to me at the time making it to the end. But it doesn't make me feel bad to know that they saw me as just a little bit more of a threat than I imagined they did. So that's cool. All right. Let's see. Cliff, would you go on The Masked Singer? What about me makes you think that I could ever go on The Masked Singer? I guess I could go on there and I'd last for my first episode, and they'd say, yeah, Cliff, your singing's as good as your dancing, so we'll go ahead and send you out the door right now. I could probably do better. I don't know if there's another show on Fox that just came on, said I Can See Your Voice, where there's only one or two good singers and there are a whole lot of less accomplished singers. I could do that show. I wouldn't even have to practice for that one. So yeah, Fox, give me a call. I Can See Your Voice. I'll fit right in. Winter season, Big Brother with newbies and no vets. Hey, we had Big Brother over the top in the past. You could do something like that again this season. I have a feeling at this point in time, they're just going to, when they get done with All Stars, they're just going to wipe their brow, say, can't believe we made it, that COVID didn't get in the way. Now we're just going to sit tight and wait until COVID is taken care of before we try to do another season. For those of you who don't know, Robin Cass did put a thing out, casting is now open for Big Brother 23. No casting calls mentioned. She even said it may be virtual more so than casting calls because of COVID and all that. But if you want to put your videotape together, we don't have videotapes anymore. That's too old school. If you want to put your audition minutes together and send it in, they are now open. So I'm hoping some of the people watching this show actually could try out, make it on the show, and then I would be so happy. But you better let me know at some point. Have some family member contact me afterwards and let me know. And I'll be cheering for. I promise I'll cheer for you. If you watch Cliff Notes and then you make on a show, you got my support all the way through. Absolutely. Thank you for the animation, Crosstrack. I love it. I got Orwell and everything. Thank you. Did they tell you how many votes you got for America's favorite player? B. Haas asked. No, I don't have any clue. I've had people tell me that I came in second, but I don't think they know any more than anyone else does. I don't know. Nicole won. Tommy and I came in second and third, or third and second. They didn't tell me how many votes, and I never really asked. It was just kind of cool I was in the final three on that. Because this was an all-vet season, do you hope for an all-newbie season? Top Gun fandom is asking. Yeah, although one or two vets coming back would be okay. I'd be all right with that. But I like the purity of an all-newbie season. I truly do. I was certainly happy last season that there weren't any vets coming in with us. We actually had thought, when they said that 4 people are going to be banished on that first day, I immediately thought, oh, great, 4 of us are heading out the door. Maybe we'll have to battle back against each other and one person comes back in the house. But meanwhile, they're going to bring in 3 or 4 vets to take our place for the next few weeks. And we all thought we were going to have some vets showing up, and it never happened. And every one of us was perfectly happy with that. Crosstrack saying, I'd love to see an all underdog season. Someone asked me a question earlier today about, would you like a season of all first people who went out the door first? That would be fun. There's people like Cameron and Glenn and Jody that I would love to see come back. But just to make sure that you get enough of a mix and everything, maybe instead of just the first boots only, I'd say a season of nothing but people who got booted before the jury, that were pre-jury. You could have a lot of people in there. You could have Dominique and Cameron and who else? There's a lot. I went over the list earlier, and there's a lot of people you could bring back and have a lot of fun with it. Chicky D, what will you be covering after Big Brother 22? I don't know. If you got any suggestions, send them my way, Chicky D. I may talk about Amazing Race a little bit, just because every country they go to, and I say, I've been there, so I got a little insight here and there. So I may talk that a little bit. I don't know. We'll find some other reality show. I'll find some off-the-wall, crazy reality show, and maybe we'll pick up that and get going with it. If not, I don't know. I'll just talk about Whataburger or George Strait music, taking a wife, country western dance. I don't know. We'll figure it. I've always been flexible, which served me well, I think, in the Big Brother house, and I'll do the same thing here. Once we get through with Big Brother, I'll get some sleep, because that thing, I haven't had any sleep for the last two and a half months or so. Can y'all believe we're on day like 76 for Big Brother? It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it is. So I'll spend a day or two, get a little sleep, and then I'll pick something up and run with it. So, but if you got any ideas, Chickadee, send them my way, because I'm looking. All right, David saying casting's ongoing for Big Brother Canada 9 until November 15th for anyone in Canada. All right, so for those of you who follow Big Brother Canada, or at least familiar with it a little bit, and especially David and Angie, some of y'all that are up there in Canada, what do you think the chances are that anyone from Big Brother Canada 8 makes it onto Big Brother Canada 9, given that they didn't get to play their full season. I can't see them all coming back because it just doesn't work. Everyone knows their stories. There's no secrets anymore, but I could see one or two people coming back and getting the opportunity to finish playing their games, perhaps. And I'd kind of like to see it. There's a few people. Hira up there. I'd love to see Hira come back again. So we'll see. Angie, thank you much for the animation, for the Canada animation. Thank you. An all first boot season. That'd be fun, Top Gun fan. Chicky D, we talked about it a little earlier, Chicky D. Yeah, I love The Amazing Race, and maybe I will cliff note it. It's a little different from this one because I can't do the overnight feeds. You watch one episode a week. But yeah, I may cover Amazing Race. That'd be fun to do. Okay, another question from YouTube. Okay. Yeah, Victoria. Victoria is asking about pre-gaming, saying a little confusion about just what happened. I don't know. I'll just start that off by saying I don't know. I was not contacted by anyone that's been accused of pre-gaming and all that. So don't think that old Boss Hog has any inside information. But how much did they set up? My guess is it's not as much as some people suspect. Now, first of all, no matter how much you pregame, you still have to win the competitions in order to win the game in advance. So even if Cody had some advice and assistance going in from Derek or from Dan, probably really Derek, I suspect, is the one that was advising him the most. You still have to win the game once you get inside. You still have to make your own decisions. You have to develop your relationships and everything else. I would not be the least bit surprised to find out that Derek went through an entire game book with Cody about this is how you do it. You create, one or two final twos, and then y'all each bring in your accessory people, so it looks like you've got a bigger alliance, but you know who your true loyalties are. And I'm sure they had a whole game plan set up, and so Cody has kind of followed the rules. But it's kind of like this. You can have a coach who gives you all the playbooks in a football game. That's a perfectly designed way to beat the other team. But if you don't actually go out there and run the plays the way you're supposed to, if you don't have your skills to make it happen, it doesn't matter what's written down on the paper. You're still not going to win the game. So, yeah, is a pre-gaming that took place? I don't know for certain, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if there wasn't a little bit of that going on. Now, the other part of pre-gaming wasn't just getting advice from Cody, but did some of these players talk to each other before they came into the house? That wouldn't surprise me either, but again, I don't know. I have no knowledge of it. So Nicole Anthony, we're so tight. And even Nicole, I suspected she was going in because she just is not a very good liar. But she wouldn't tell me anything at all. So, some people are willing to work with each other and kind of ignore some of the rules more than others are. But I don't know. I assume some communication took place, but maybe not. All right. Let's see. Cross-track, interesting to see people who can't compete against each other. Yes, yeah, that's true. But I do think there's some people who got sent home early that were good competitors. It's just sometimes things work out. Just you get that one competition that you're not strong in. Plus, the first boot or two, there's so many assumptions made and stereotypes about a person. As an older guy, I knew that there was going to be a target on my back. For no reason other than because I didn't fit in with the other people in the house. And so I do think there are some people who just for whatever reason didn't quite fit in with the rest of the house that got booted when really they should have gotten more of a chance to play. And so for that reason, I'd like to see some of the pre-jury in the first boots get a little more chance to come back again. All right, so let's see what else. Dancing with the Stars. Yeah, no, and Cross-Track saying do Amazing Race. I'll do Amazing Race before Dancing with the Stars. And you ought to know better than that, Top Gun Phantom. David Buchanan, would you ever do an episode where you guest us on? Yeah, we've got that capability now to do that. So I'm probably not going to do it during the Big Brother season itself, just because we're so questions and all of that. But off season, yeah, I think we'll. I'd love to bring some of y'all on and get y'all's input and opinions on the game. And so yeah, we'll probably do that off season as we start figuring out the rest of this schedule. Let's see. Let's see. Go for it. All right, Angie, what are you doing? Sorry, I can't keep track. Guys, I'm trying to keep up with all of this. Not being Angie. Yeah, Angie, you could try it for Big Brother Canada. You know, I'd be your biggest fan, right? Or at least one of your absolute biggest fans. Shoot, I'd be up there in Toronto. I guess is it filmed in Toronto? I'd be up there outside the wall doing my own wall of yelling just to help you out, Angie. And David, you too. You need to try it out. Both of y'all could align together. Y'all be a dominant force. Did pre-gaming kill this season? No, Top Gun, I don't think it's pre-gaming that killed the season. I think, and I hate to say anything killed the season. I think what made the season less enjoyable because it was too predictable was just the fact that one side won so many competitions. All we had to do, that one competition where Christmas wins and didn't answer a question or anything because Davon picked the wrong answer. If Davon had won instead, she flips the house around. Suddenly you get power on the other side of the house and all kinds of things start to happen. And you can get more like a season 20 where you've got level 6 and Fote going against each other. And I think just that one side won so many victories is what made the season less enjoyable than past season. Not really the pre-gaming. It's just that one side won all the competitions out. My personal opinion. All right, so I saw Whataburger in the Panhandle, Florida on my way home. And tried it at 9 a.m. in the morning. Well, if you went there at 9 a.m. in the morning, that means you can get breakfast taquitos. Nothing beats breakfast taquitos, except for my wife's cooking. I'll leave it at that. I'd rather have breakfast here with Sharon. But as a secondary option, going by Whataburger, getting some breakfast taquitos, not a bad way to go. All right, let's see. Former reality star DM. Yes, okay, Top Gun. All right, sorry, guys. I've tried to keep up. Whataburger needs a DC location. Whataburger, they're slowly branching out, but give it time. If not, let me know, Top Gun. Maybe I can just ship some Whataburger up your direction, and because I got to share the wealth, right? The more people, we got a few things we're really proud of in Texas: barbecue, Lone Star beer, Whataburger, Bluebell ice cream. I'm sure I can come up with a few others here and there, but you know us Texans, we like our foods and our treats and everything. All right. Oh, Five Guys Burger, Chicky D's is saying, I've had a few Five Guys Burger, but I'll take the Whataburger above it. Thank you, Angie. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing the burger right there. Happy cheeseburger. All right, guys. If I missed any of y'all's questions, I've been trying to keep up with this. Chicky D, thank you for the animation as well. I'm trying. If I missed one of your questions, it's not because I was ignoring it. It's just because I'm not reading as fast as y'all are typing sometimes. BB22 house guests were too old and too settled. That could be as well. It definitely was a different vibe inside that house. We didn't have the showmances, which means we didn't have some of the emotions that came into play that otherwise you maybe would have had. You know, it's funny, last season, there was one point where I went to Sis and I said, Sis, I know that you and Jack, y'all are dating, y'all are together and all that, but I know that you're not playing his game and he's not playing yours. So I want to deal with you individually and try to make some things happen as well. And she said she was appreciative of it and all of that. But the reality is, I knew they were like this. I knew that whatever he did, she was going to do, and vice versa. So sometimes when you have younger people in the house, you get the emotions that come into play, the showmances and all of that. Sometimes those are areas that can be manipulated because you end up with people making decisions not always based on what's best for their game, but based on not wanting certain people to leave or trying to support their game instead of yours. And we didn't see any of that this season. Kellogg's saying HEB. Yeah, that's another stand. HEB grocery stores, huge down here, and it's such a great store. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, suddenly this season, instead of showmances, we get stories about childbirth and osteoporosis and kids and things that fit in right with me. I could have had a lot of conversations in that house, but yeah, it's certainly a little bit different vibe. And I've had people say, "Oh, Cliff, you should have been on the show and all that." And I've said before, yeah, but they already filled up their old person slot with all the people from the earlier seasons of Big Brother, such as Memphis, and so I was kind of squeezed out as they brought in all the other people from the previous season. So yeah, it was fun, and it would always be fun. I'd love to see just a regular season, not all stars, but just a regular season where you have not just one older person, but even just two or three slightly more mature people, just to try to balance out against some of the younger ones as well. I think I've talked to Glenn about it before, who was the first boot, and we've talked about how he could have done a lot of things if he'd stayed a little longer. And he and I have laughed and said, man, you get Glenn and myself and Donnie and Kevin in there, for example. uh, 4 or 5 older guys, we could have fun in that house. I think we do quite well, but we certainly would have fun regardless of how the game went, just playing in that house together and not being the outcast, the older type person. Lefty, thank you for the animation. I appreciate it. Let's see, HEB, White Castles. Top Gun fans, I don't know if I've ever tried White Castles. Eric from Your Reality Recaps gave me a hard time because I tried to compare that to Whataburger. So, no, I'm gonna have to go to New York. You're gonna have to treat me, Eric, you and Nicole, because I've never had White Castle. Okay, we got another question from YouTube. All right, GA Snow. Ah, yeah, golden question. Why do you think the live feeds have been down so much this season? Boy, they have been down a lot, haven't they? And I get it. Sometimes when I see someone start to sing a song, I say, all right, well, here go the feeds. And sure enough, then it cuts away to the stars. Or when someone starts, oh, my buddy I went to high school with, his name is, and it cuts. And I understand that, because if you don't have non-disclosure agreements, you can't talk about private individuals. If you can't sing music or anything else because it's all trademarked and cost CBS money and all that. So there's things that I completely get, but there's other things that the feeds go away just as you're getting ready to hear some important story. And then there's other times where it's just the most random conversations that seem so safe and innocuous, and they still cut away for extended periods of time. And I don't know. At one point, I said earlier in the season they're saving some of this information. For example, tonight on the episode, we saw Enzo's room reveal, and we did not see it on the live feeds. And so that makes sense. Okay, they're going to hide some of the information or some of the feeds so that we're forced to watch it on CBS. So they have the content to kind of surprise you and things like that. And that's fine. I get it. But these other times where it's just completely random, off the wall, cutting away, and not just for a minute or two, but cutting away for hours at a time. I don't know. I've wondered in the past, because before the season even started, I don't know if y'all remember, there were some rumors that at least 1 or 2 of the house guests had said they would only come on the show if they didn't have live feeds, because everyone's so worried about social media and that you're going to get caught saying something that it was probably you shouldn't say, or just not quite what should be said, and create issues. And we've seen some of that where people have gotten called out for some things that were done and said inside the house. And so there was a rumor that some people were saying we're only coming on if there's not a live feed. Well, obviously that didn't happen, but it has always made me wonder, is maybe someone still made some demands that there's going to be a certain amount of downtime as a result of it. Could it be that because of COVID issues that they have less staff? I mean, you can only imagine how many people have to have cameras to be filming this stuff 24 hours a day. And even once the house guests go to bed, you still have 1 or 2 people that are monitoring cameras and all of that. During the day itself, I don't know how many people are behind the walls filming and in the control rooms monitoring the remote cameras and all of that. I hope it's not just a matter of some person saying, hey, can I turn the camera off, the live feeds off, because I've got to go take a smoke break. I kind of doubt it. I mean, it is CBS. It's prime time, big time TV and all that stuff. I don't think it's as simple as that, but it could be with COVID restrictions and all that. There may be some things that happen occasionally where they need to shut down for electronics or who knows what else. But yeah, you're right. It does occasionally get very frustrating, especially there's a couple things. One, when you're really invested in a conversation and suddenly it cuts away, and she's like, no, I wanted to hear the end of the story. What are you doing to me? But then the other parts, that's the Big Brother song is stuck in my mind, because I watch these live feeds all night long so I can do my little 15-minute recaps in the morning. And it's frustrating when it's going on 2 or 3 hours, and just when I'm about to say, okay, well, that's it, I'm going to just do my little recap now because it's through, suddenly the feeds come back on and you get another hour or 2 before they cut away again. So yeah, I feel your pain. I absolutely feel your pain. I feel the same way, but I don't know what all goes on with it. I need to quiz some of these house guests when we get done if there were some provisions in place that we don't know about, because right now I'm not sure any more than anyone else. Chickadee, thank you so much for the tip. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Top Gun Cliff Jackson went on a date with Demi from The Bachelor. Really? I didn't know that. For those of you who are aware, Jackson and Holly were together for a while, but then they decided to move on to pursue different opportunities and such. I know Jackson I think he moved to Las Vegas. I know that was his plan, so I wouldn't be. I'll just leave it at that. I wouldn't be surprised if he may have gone on a date with Demi and one or two other people as well. Top Gun Phantom, what do you think about Rachel Riley leaving Twitter over the evil dick controversy? That's a tough one, and I'm not going to comment on the controversy itself because I don't know enough about it. I've seen that one quick little clip, but I just don't know. It's unfortunate. I don't ever really want to see someone get chased off any social media. I'd rather have them stay and talk about it, talk it out, and explain themselves, do whatever. It's unfortunate. I get perhaps why she left Twitter. Sometimes for your own mental health, you just need to step back and take a pause, and I think that's healthy as well. But I hope she comes back on soon. And the other thing too, how pregnant is she? I think she's within a month or so of giving birth. So she's got a lot of other stresses going on. I'm not sure having to deal with social media right now is her biggest priority. So I hope Rachel goes and takes care of the true family stuff, and then she comes back on and we get her back because I'm a fan. Rachel was she was certainly a character on the show, wasn't she? Chicky D, are you coming to Florida to Margaritaville? I'm planning. Give the Kids a World Village has their fundraiser, and I'd like to do it. It all depends on what's happening with COVID. Tentatively, I'm scheduled to be there, but it just really depends on what happens between now and then and how safe we think it is, and decisions will be made. But I'd like to. Enzo is the old guy this season. He's 42. Yeah, I know. That makes me feel really ancient, right? But I think I've got Enzo or Memphis. I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit younger soul than one or two people in the house this season, even if chronologically I may have a few years on them. But that's okay. Cliff, does the fourth place house guest ever go to the jury house? Thank you, DB, for asking that question. No, they don't. And I didn't know that last season. I was evicted fourth, and I said, oh, okay, y'all taking me to the jury house tonight? Oh, no, Cliff, you're not going to the jury house. Now, I was sequestered in a spot for that one night, that Thursday night after I was evicted. We did the round table, the jury round table, the following Friday night, where we talk about the remaining three players, who we think deserves to win, things like that. Once that got done, though, instead of going back out to the jury house, everyone in the jury from that point on was kept sequestered apart from each other. Once we had the jury round table, they didn't want us talking to one another, so we were all sequestered separately from one another. So no, I never got to see the jury house. The one experience from Big Brother I didn't really get to experience, but that's okay. I would have rather stayed in the house as long as I could. All right, let me see. We're getting towards the end, so I'm going to get through here real quick. Shiner Beer. Oh, Baba Hog, you got it right. I ever tried Steak and Shake or Cracker Barrel restaurants? Oh, yeah, David. Hey, we got a bunch of those down here. Cracker Barrel, sit out in the front in the rocking chair for a little bit. Yeah. I like my Cracker Barrel. What's the chances of getting picked? Mason, is that for Big Brother? Chances are very, very, very low, but hey, I made it on. I tried out once, I made it on. So that doesn't mean that the chances are impossible. It just means you have to treat the tryout as the experience, and if you make it on, then that's just icing on top, right? Chuck and Norris, will you go back in the show if asked? Absolutely. Just give me a call. I won't even pack anything. I'll just be on the plane within the next hour, and I'll be there. Top Gun, any tips on getting cast? I want to know recruit season. Yeah, maybe I'll put a YouTube out there. A couple of nights ago, I did on my YouTube channel, I had some basic casting advice, but I may put a formal YouTube together just talking about that. So keep tuned, and I'll throw out some ideas that I may have in play. David, the Big Brother theme song reminds me of the guitar lick of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Wow. I know that song so well. I have not nightmares. I dream about the Big Brother songs at times, it seems like. What luxury competition do you wish you had participated in? Top Gun Phantom's asking. Well, I don't know if it's a luxury competition, but I wish I'd competed in the launched in space competition where they spun around and they launched the darts out onto the yard. That was during my season. I was not picked for that veto. I think someone won $5,000. Someone won a trip to Hawaii. I would have liked either one of those, but I didn't get picked. So I also didn't get punishment, but I would have taken a punishment in order to win some stuff. But it wasn't to be, so whatever. That's all right. All right, guys. Behas, thank you so much for the animation. And final question. Let's do this real quick. Chucky Norris, who is your projected winner? I got to go with Cody. I truly do. And we didn't get to cover some of the things I thought. But if I look at, I think Cody wins the first part of the final three competition. So then he goes up against either Enzo or Nicole in the question and answers to determine who the first of the final two is. I think probably he goes up against Nicole, who should win the second part. I think Cody answers the questions more than Nicole does. He probably picks Nicole to go to the final two. I think if it comes down to a jury vote, I think Cody gets the votes, probably a 6-3 vote. I think maybe Nicole gets the votes of Kevin and who else did I pick? I can't remember now. Kevin and two others, Ian and one other that I just can't remember. But yeah, I think Cody probably wins 6-3, maybe even 7-2, and wins the whole thing. That's my opinion. I think that's what we're going to see, though. All right, guys, we are going to have to shut it down for now. But let me real quickly go through it if I could. Chicky D, Mason Bolin, both of y'all, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. Angie, Cross Track as well. Thank you both. Y'all are here every single week. Behas, you as well. Life After Netherland. I did a podcast, or I did the show, TVCO show with Sean and Karen. Thank y'all so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Pleasure talking to y'all guys. Lefty Ambition, thank you as always. Mama C as well. Sindelica may have already gone, but I had seen Sindelica out here before, so welcome aboard. Hey guys, I appreciate it. Man, this hour just goes too quick, but we're gonna keep on doing it. Even after Big Brother's gone, we'll still continue to visit and talk about everything. So guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. By the time we come back next Monday, we're gonna know. We're gonna have not just the final. I guess we'll have final three. We'll have final three at that time, but we'll probably know really the first couple of segments. We'll be within a day or two of the finale. So we've got one more episode before we finish up Big Brother, and then we'll move on to completely different things. Guys, y'all have a fantastic week. I will see y'all next Monday. Take care. Yeah, we'll talk. I'm going to make some posts. I'm going to be doing a couple of podcasts over the next few days, so I'll send out announcements on that as well. Y'all have a great one, guys. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.